Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to discuss online tax forms and my pay entry for employees. We are going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. We have several attendees who are still attempting to gain access to the webinar. So I am going to go ahead and get started at about 2 after. So in about 2 minutes, we will get started. All right, it is 3:02, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be running through online tax forms, how you review them, preview them to take a look before they are released out to employees, the online tax form set up in the system to make sure that employees can enroll, as well as an announcement that can be sent to employees to let them know to enroll and that they can pull them from their My Pay Entry accounts. If you have any questions as we go along, please type those into the chat. I will be able to review those as we go along. I will answer questions as they pop up if they are relevant for where I am in the presentation. If we need to ask questions at the end, I'll also give some time for that. So the first thing that I want to go ahead and show you, I am on the Pay Entry Next Gen dashboard. This is a demo company. So you'll notice that the current payroll right now shows December 11th, 2020, but obviously we're going to go through this session as if it is now 2021 and we're going back to release the tax forms out to employees for the 2020 tax season. So one of the first things that I want to show you is that the Secure View service, if this is something that you, your clients, or you as the client are currently using, out in Secure View is where we will post employer copies and also employee copies, a PDF copy that you can have for your review. These will be posted typically in the last month of the quarter for all of your quarterly reports and the last month of the year for anything annual, so W-2s, etc. In this year, we don't currently have any posted because, again, this is a demo company, but out here underneath 2020 December is where you would see employee W-2, employer W-2 copies, and also your W-3, that totals page. So if you are using Secure View, at this point, unless your company was placed on a hold and we still have some things that we're working on for you, you would be able to see copies of these here. If you are not currently receiving your payroll reports and your year-end or quarterly documents in Secure View and you're a pay entry user, please reach out to your dedicated client advocate or your dedicated service team. This is a very easy, organized way to review your reports. They come out quickly and they're out here securely for 3 years for you, so you can review those at any time. So I just wanted to point out this is where you can pull copies to take a look. They should be posted there at this time if you're using the Secure View service. For companies that we service directly, we are working on W-2 packages, and those will all be shipped within the next 7 days. So they will come to your company with plenty of time for distribution to employees, and you have access to the electronic copies from us at any time. Reach out to us if you're unsure of how to access, and we can assist you if there is an employee that maybe needs it sooner for any reason, or if you just want to review those. So for the online tax forms portion, the first step that you'll want to take to make sure that your company has the online tax form capability is you'll want to go to the company setup and go to online tax forms setup. This is something that all pay entry users have access to, so you should be able to see this. And if you have any questions on any of this, please let me know. This is the W-2 setup. This has to be completed. So with the name, phone number, email address, and this is for the contact at your company that you would want employees to ask questions to about their W-2. So your payroll contact, or if you're the owner and you're responsible for the payroll, whoever that tax form contact is going to be at your company. So you would want to enter in the information here. The enroll date, I always recommend using January 31st for this. This says that if somebody enrolls in online tax forms by January 31st, that they'll have access to their tax form out on the system. They do have to agree and enroll, and I'll show you here in just a moment, and enroll in the tax forms to be able to only receive them electronically. So if an employee has enrolled, or if they have not enrolled, they can still review their W-2 on my pay entry. Enrolling in the online tax forms makes it so they are paperless and they will only receive an online copy. So if you have employees that are enrolled, and I'll show you that here in just a moment, then they would only receive their electronic copy, and you would not receive a hard stock copy in your package if that's the case. But you can release them to everybody regardless on if they have enrolled or not. And I'll show you the different settings here in just a moment. But I always typically say do January 31st. That way, if somebody wants to keep going in until the end of the year or until the end of the month and enroll in that, if we have not printed them for any reason, at this point, most of them have been printed, then they would not receive that stock copy. So once you've set up the W-2 setup, you'll save changes here. If you have employees that are, or contractors that are 1099s, you would click here and you would have to fill out the same information. This does not carry across. It's all filled out now, and it's the same contact on this company, but it does not carry across. So you'll want to check both if you have both W-2s and 1099s, and go ahead and save this. This is what allows the employees to enroll again. So you'll want to make sure that this is filled out, or they will not have the option to see their tax form. So this is always the first step. The second step is the online tax forms review, or the online tax forms announcement. So I'm going to go to the announcement first, and I'll show you why you can kind of do either one. If this is your first year using my pay entry to release forms out to the employees, then this is something that we definitely recommend. And if you have hired a lot during this year and so you have brand new people, I always think that it's a good idea to send this out. There's a main body message here. It's something that just gives information. It says, here's how you get to your online tax form area so you can enroll to access their documents. So this is something that can be sent to the employees. So it tells them, go to their web browser, log into their account, and then they're going to go to their online tax form enrollment, click the button to turn it on, and check the box for the disclosure, agree to terms, and then they should be able to download the PDF. There is an option also for a sample PDF document in case they're worried that they cannot access, but this is where they are given instructions on that. Then after the main body of this announcement, there's contact information below. So for the employee, if you have any questions or anything about obtaining your form online, then this gives them the W-2 and 1099 contacts. So this is something that you'll notice a red circle goes over here. These are locked in. So all of this information is what would go out. And then you also have the ability to add something in closing if you would like. So if you want to give a specific message, hey everyone, we're going paperless this year, please enroll so you can have your W-2 or whatever the case may be. You can put any type of message here, and then you can click to send announcement, and you can choose from different groups of employees. So you can send them to all of your employees that are using My Pay Entry ESS, so My Pay Entry Employee Self-Service. You can send to employees that have not yet enrolled in the online forms, employees that were hired after a certain date. So if you know that you sent them out to everyone previously or last year, you can say, you know, anybody hired after 12/31/2019 for everybody for last year or something like that. And you can also choose just to send to one person. So if you know you just have one person left that hasn't done it, you can always do employees not yet enrolled, or you can choose someone in specific. And you can also send a test to yourself to see what that would look like for the employees. So you have several options there. And then you would just click to send at that point, and it would immediately send an email to whoever you filtered to send that to. And so again, this email is just going to let them know, hey, we're just letting you know you have this capability. Here's how you enroll. You can enroll, once you've enrolled, you can view, you can print them at any time. We hope you use this, and here's the contact information. And then there's no additional information at the bottom because we didn't enter anything in closing. So if you are going to send the online tax form announcement before you release the forms out to employees, that would be completed at this point. So that step would be sent. The area that you're going to go to actually preview and release forms is this online tax forms review. So for online tax forms review, it's automatically going to default to the current year that you're in. The tax forms that were created for last year are in 2020. So once you select 2020, you'll see it load here for just a moment, and then it's going to pull up a list of employees. It's going to pull up all employees that will have a W-2 form in this current year. So at this point, we can see here all of the employees that have access to My Pay Entry. So the rest of these employees have not even enrolled to even have an account on Employee Self-Service, so we wouldn't be able to do that. These enrollments, current enrollment here, this is if the employee is enrolled in online tax forms. So out of all of these employees, only 2 of them are enrolled in online tax forms. But you'll notice that there is a release option beside all employees that have ESS access. So these 2 employees that are enrolled currently, those employees have elected to have online tax forms and to only receive online tax forms. So Michael Robinson, there's 2 of them. Michael Robinson would not receive a hard copy in your W-2 package. He would only receive an online copy. So we've had several employers that have chosen to go 100% paperless, just with the current, climate of what's going on in the country with COVID-19, so that way there is less manual intervention, passing out the forms manually. A lot of workplaces have gone remote. So you do still have the option at this point. Again, most of them have been printed, some have been shipped, but if you would like to opt to not have those stock copies come, or if you still want to receive them, but you want to go ahead and release to everybody electronically and make sure they know that they can retrieve them there, reach out to your dedicated client advocate or service team. We can talk through the options of what we can do at this point. So once you're here, you have some options. You can view all, and you can preview all of the tax forms. You can preview just the forms for the employees that have been enrolled or for the employees that are not enrolled. You can take a look. You can also choose just to view one employee's form if you want to take a look and see what it looks like. If you click view, it is going to pop up right here and it's going to load. And I can see this copy of Anna Cort's W-2 right from here. So this is another place where you can review the employee W-2s. So even after the fact, once you've released them, you can also come out here and view them at any time to take a look. So going across here, just to show you the additional options, we have the date that they were published to the site. I did them today, so that way we had a fresh new set of W-2s for us to look at for this webinar. You can click and you can release them individually. So if you're still working on, maybe you found some kind of issue on Paul Lawman or on a couple of the employees, and so you're not ready to send them all out yet, and you just want to release one at a time. So Anna needs hers now. You can go ahead and shoot Anna's out there, but you're still working on everybody else's, still have some questions, things like that. Those are the options that you have to do it one at a time. And again, the release option is available for those employees that have access to My Pantry. You can't release it out if they don't have an account. So once you release, there will be a release date. So click release. Are you sure you want to release? Okay. So it's going to say that it's releasing. It's going to load for just a moment here. And now you'll see unrelease, release date, and re-notify. When the notification, or I apologize, when the form is released, you can have it send a notification to the employee if you leave it on email, or if you click none, it will not send a notification. I always recommend the notification. That way the employees know when they're there, and you can let them know, hey, you're going to receive an email when it's released. So that way you don't have 50 employees asking you, when are they coming, when are they coming? You can say, once you receive the email, they're out, and I'll let everybody know. So you have the option to send the email, or again, if that's something you don't want to do, you can choose to do none. If the employee has viewed their online tax form, viewed their W-2 or 1099, it's going to say if they've viewed it here. If you come back out to this area and check, say, a week later, and it looks like maybe somebody who's asked you for the form, who has enrolled and is only going to receive the online copy, and you see that they haven't viewed it, or even if you just want to go back out after a week and just resend again to those that haven't viewed, there is a re-notify option. So there's a re-notify option to do that. So these are all how you can do things individually. And I don't have any questions in the chat yet. If you have any questions, please make sure to type those in. Again, I will ask at the end as well, but I don't see anything quite yet. All right, so that is individually how you go through that process. To go through the process in bulk, and I apologize, actually, I do see a couple of questions that have come through, so let me just scan quickly and see if, let's see. So it looks like we have a contact that has some questions specific to her account, so I will have the client advocate or myself reach out after the training. For the online tax form announcement, the question was asked, can you send that announcement to active employees only? The answer to that is yes. So the announcement, when you go to send that announcement, you're able to choose active, people who are just active or on leave of absence, or terminated. So you can choose just to do the active employees and then send that out that way. And that's where you would do that up here in this filter. I had the question, if an employee has access to ESS but is not yet enrolled, can you confirm that they will be able to view their W-2, just not the ability to print it? If you release the W-2 out to that employee, they can view it and they can print it. The only thing is just that they're going to still receive a stock copy if they haven't enrolled. So they're going to receive the stock copy, but they can also view it online if you release it to all the employees that have access. I have another kind of more specific question. I will either have the dedicated client advocate or myself or reach out after the call on that question. It's more specific to the account. So back into the online tax form review area. Once you're out here, if you want to send these in bulk, if you want to release them out in bulk, you can filter along here. So either your W-2s, this company doesn't have any 1099s, or 1099 would be in the drop down as well. So we have W-2. We can choose just the employees that are enrolled at this time. If you want to do that, you can take a look at the employees that are not enrolled. That'll take just a moment. There's obviously more of those. So all of these employees have not enrolled in online tax forms. You can review any that have not been released. So for example, we already have this one released for Anna Court. You can look at the ones that have not been released. And then once you have the group of people that you want, it is kind of limited for how you filter, but whoever is on the screen here, at that point, you can choose to release all. And they will get that email if this is selected. And so this will take just a couple of moments here, and it's going to load because it's most of the employees on the company. And at this point, it's releasing to all of the employees that have a MyPayEntry account. So once this loads and you have a release date here, the employee will have received the notification and they will be able to pull their tax form from MyPayEntry. So I've gone through kind of slowly here, but the whole process, as long as you have the online tax form setup completed, which still only takes just a moment just to fill out this contact information. And if you want to send the announcement, you can do that. That just takes a couple of clicks. And then to review and release, you saw you have the two options. You can do those independently, or you can do that in bulk. I had another question. When you release all, can you confirm that it will only release to employees with ESS and to those enrolled? Does status matter? If you release all, if you have this filtered, then it's going to release to the list that you have filtered. It will only be able to release to the employees that have ESS because it doesn't have anywhere to go if they don't have an ESS account. It wouldn't have, even if there's an email for the employee in the system, it wouldn't have an account to post it to. So you'll notice it doesn't even give the option, before when we were looking at the options to release, all of these employees are just going to receive stock copies and wouldn't have access to them in their MyPayEntry account because they don't have one. So it would only go to the employees that are selected, and it would go to all employees regardless of status, unless you chose just to send to active employees, etc. We have some people that use MyPayEntry for terminated employees as well. They allow them to keep the access for this purpose exactly. So that way they don't have to keep up with, a termed employee's address, things like that. And the former employees are able to still come in and pull their W-2s, 1099s, or their old pay stubs without reaching out to the company. Because you aren't paying for, this additional person to have this additional account, it doesn't hurt, anything, and there's no negative really to doing that for the company. to allow them to still have access to their tax forms and their pay stubs. So that concludes the process of what you do once your tax forms are published. Everyone at this point, again, unless your company has been on a hold and we're waiting for some more information, and you should be involved in that conversation. So you should know, everybody should have those tax forms published, and they should be able to go through the processes that I just showed if you're using My Pay Entry. Does anybody have any additional questions? There are a few of you I will reach out to, or have your dedicated rep reach out to you afterwards, just because the questions were a little bit more specific. I had someone ask if we're going to replay this webinar. Since if you are enrolled, once the recording completes, you should have an email sent to you with the recording. If you don't receive that email, I would recommend that you check your junk. And also, if you need to review after the fact, once the recording posts and processes through the GoTo training site, it will be out on the Pay Entry website. And so out on the Pay Entry website, I'm pulling up where you can see those now. And there's also some instructions out here I'll show you quickly while I'm already out here. But from payentry.com, there's a webinars option. You can click on webinar recordings, and you'll be able to see everything that we've done here in the past several months. So there's information about some year-end things if you're still needing to look at some things, different updates on states. We have information about vaccinations, different things with changes, and ACA, different things with the FFCRA, the stimulus bill. There's a lot of great information up here. And again, once I have posted this, once it processes through, the releasing online tax forms information will be out here as well. Another great resource here too is if you hover over resources and go to employer resources, we also have some information here for online tax forms. So the setup would be the online tax form setup that I went through here on this tab. So it goes over some more information there. Then it also has how to release. It has information about the announcement. So how you go through that part. So all of the information is out here as well. So if you forget anything and don't want to go back and watch the webinar, the webinar to find the information, you are able to come out here and pull that from our website. And if you haven't been using the website as a resource, there is a ton of information out here, especially as it relates to My Pay Entry and to NextGen. So there's also resources out here for your employees. How do I enroll, for them setting up their account? How do they enroll in online tax forms, update their direct deposit if you allow that? There's some information for IRS withholding, how to read your W-2. That's a great one. A lot of times, people look at box 1 and don't feel comfortable knowing, what that box 1 is as it relates to taxable wages, things like that. So there's quite a few great resources out here as well, along with those webinar recordings. All right, we've got about 1 minute left here. I don't see any other questions coming through. If anybody has any last minute questions, if you want to type those in the chat. If not, thank you all so much for joining today. Again, if you have any questions, anything that wasn't clear on the webinar, please feel free to reach out to your service team or your dedicated client advocate, your dedicated rep. They'll be happy to help you. And those of you that ask questions in here that are more specific, I will reach out to you after the webinar. It may be a little bit later on today, or it may be early tomorrow, but I'll reach out so we can work through those questions that you have. All right, I didn't have any other questions. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining.